Hey, it's your girl, Angie KB. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing step by step. So, first you turn the stove onto medium-low, add in the cannabis butter, add in your soy lecithin powder, and start stirring rigorously. And then once that's combined, you add in the fruit punch of your choosing, and then you add in the gelatin, and you gotta like whisk a lot as you're doing this, or else it'll get all clumpy, kind of like cornstarch, you know? And, you know, just whisking away, whisking away. Oh, then you add in your jello powder. You can see in the background my dog licking his dick. So that's nice. It's getting a little clumpy. Okay, so then you just whisk for like 10, 15 minutes. And then I started filling up these molds, which took a while. I ended up switching to a spoon, which was easier. But yeah, that's basically it. Alright guys, the deed is done. I don't know how I feel about the fact that I got some of this on me and you literally can play with it like special effects makeup and it's not coming off, but it tastes decent, so horse hooves. That was pretty easy. It did get a little tricky with the hardening, but they acted online as if like, oh my god, it's gonna harden in like 2 seconds. So I don't know, I think that I did alright. I lost the dropper like halfway through. It just got too thick and it like got clogged and it didn't work. And then I just ended up using a spoon from my cabinet, which made it a little messier, but I think ultimately a lot faster. So now these are just gonna set. It says to put them in the freezer, but then I saw people saying that they were better left out, so I think I'm going to do what you would do with normal Jell-O and just put them in the fridge. I don't know, I'll let them set for a few hours and then I guess we'll taste test them, right? I guess so. Alright guys, it's hours later and these things are set. They're done. This is how these came out. They look pretty legit. And then I had a little bit of excess left, so I just poured it in here, you know. I haven't popped any of these out, but let's see. I'm impressed with myself. These came out really good. Like, normally I do a really bad job with this stuff, but let's do the taste test. So I'm just going to eat this big one because, you know. All right, a little gelatiny. I mean, it doesn't taste awesome because I can taste a lot of the coconut oil. But I mean, I'm not eating this because I fucking want candy. You know what I mean? I'm eating this because I'm trying to get my rocks off. So if you're trying to get your rocks off, try this recipe. You can try one of these. You know what I mean? Yeah, it doesn't taste awesome because it's like very coconut oily. It's not bad, it's just like you kind of want to get it over with. Is it a fail? I don't think so. I mean, I guess we'll find out. If it gets me high, it's not a fail, you know? It's edible. Thank God we used that fruit punch stuff because I don't know how it would have tasted without that. Alright, well. Alright guys, but that's it. What do you think? It was actually really easy. Hopefully very effective. We'll see. I'll let you know. Remember, the recipe link will be below. I'll also link where I got the soy lecithin powder stuff. And follow me on Instagram if you want, at NGKB. Thank you for watching this episode of Angel's Anything Show, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Alright, I'm here to report that the gummies worked. The slightly too gelatinous gummies did indeed work. I am high. And also, I have a pimple between my eyes, which I've had for this whole video, so you guys already know that. Anyway, it was a success, so definitely make them. Alright. Also, Dan just fucked up a HelloFresh, so just Alright guys, more time has passed and I feel the need to tell you that I'm even more fucked up now, as you can probably tell because my eyelid is even more closed. And my pimple is even more red, so I'm not sure what's happening with that. Okay. Do try these at home. Do try these at home. Alright, bye. Dan's wearing a gray bodysuit.
Today I'm going to be doing something really fun for children, and this is my version of Jell-O gummy bears. So let me set up with all the ingredients that we need, and I'll be back in a second. So now that I've set up, I'm going to show you exactly what we need. I have a silicone gummy bear mold, a measuring cup for our water. We're going to be starting off with cold water, but I'm going to get to that step in just a second. You're going to need 1 tablespoon of gelatin. That is equal to 15 milliliters. And if you buy your gelatin in little packets, this is what it looks like. It's a standard package, and this holds 1 tablespoon or 15 milliliters. And also a regular sized box of Jell-O, and this here is 85 grams. So for our first step, I'm going to get my water ready, and I'm going to come back in 1 second. For my first step, I have added a half a cup of cold water from my kitchen sink. That is very important. You need the water to be cold. I am now going to take that 1 tablespoon of gelatin, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top of the cold water. And I'm going to let this sit here for about 5 minutes because I want this to completely dissolve in that cold water. You can already see that it's dissolving quite quickly. So I'm just going to let that go for a few more minutes, and then I'll come back. So this is 5 minutes later, and I've just taken a fork and just stirred this around. Everything is nicely dissolved. And now I'm going to take my last little bit of water, a 1/4 cup, and dump that right in. So in here, we have a total of 3/4 of a cup of water. I am now going to take this, put this into the microwave, and just microwave it for about a minute until it's hot. So that was 1 minute on high, and you can see now that it's much clearer. That's because heat has been introduced into the gelatin and water. And now we are ready to add in our actual Jell-O mixture. So I've opened up our little box of Jell-O, and now I'm going to get that right in there. And because the liquid is hot, all of the Jell-O mixture is going to really just dissolve that much easier in there. Oh, that smells good too. And I am using a cherry today. Just going to mix this around. So you don't have to worry about the exact temperature that you heat this to in your microwave. Just make sure that it's hot. It does not have to be boiling. Just hot. That will help all of the, the actual package contents mix up in there really well. And that's good. And now we are ready to fill our mold. So I've just put my mold on a little cutting board because this is very, very flexible and it's very hard to lift up when it's full. So we are ready to pour. Just give that a little bit of a stir just to make sure that all the contents are completely mixed, that nothing has settled to the bottom. And then I'm going to start filling our little mold. And that looks good, just like that. Okay, I'm just cleaning this up. And now we are ready to pop this into the fridge. So you want to put this in the fridge, not the freezer, just into your fridge, and just let this chill down for about 4 hours. And you're going to have really, really nice gummy bears. So I'm going to pop this into my fridge, and I'll come back much later on, and I'm going to show you the final product. And they are really fun, and they are full of flavor. A few hours later, once your Jell-O has completely set, you can just peel out your little gummy bears. And that's what's so nice about the silicone, is that you can get right in there and just peel them right out. So I'll continue doing this, and I'll be back in a second. And our last one. And there we have them. Just get them around the right way. Look at that. Really nice. Let me zoom in. So I've zoomed in just a little bit to show you how nice these are. And there we have it, our Jell-O gummy bears. And look at how really gummy these are. Really, really nice. You can see that extra gelatin really set these up really well. And these here are super, super fresh. A burst of flavor right in your mouth. Super, super fresh. Yum. I just zoomed in a little bit more because I think I heard some of you say, zoom in a little bit more. I want to see a little bit more detail in those gummy bears. And here we have them. Aren't those cute? Made with Jell-O and gelatin, a little bit of water. There we have them. Really fun, really, really delicious. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. And that's it for today. I'll see you next time.
What's up guys, Lisa Hugh, Borderlands Bakery here today, and we are going to be making the ultra trendy hot cocoa box. Now the hot cocoa bomb was first introduced by Kate Weiser, I believe. She had something called Carl the Snowman. It was basically like this oversized hot chocolate bomb in the shape of a snowman. And it came out years ago, but only in the last year did the trend really, really take off, and now everybody is making them. Today, I'm going to be showing you my method. There are a lot of things you can do to make hot cocoa bombs, tons of different techniques and molds. This is just one way, and you're only limited by your imagination. So once you get the basics down, you can start filling them with whatever you want, not just hot cocoa, but like matcha latte or strawberry milk. And you can start decorating them in more fancy ways to make it ultra fun. So let's jump right into it. And if you love our content, definitely smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can keep supporting us and we can keep creating content like this for everybody.
Alright friends, so here is what we're going to need to make our hot cocoa bombs today. This is my way. There are infinite ways. So I'm using some leftover chocolate that I had used about a week ago. This is my Nerdy Nummies chocolate warmer. It ensures that your chocolate is melted but doesn't get too hot so that it burns. Love this, love this, love this. If you're making a lot of cocoa bombs, this is so worth it. It's only 25 bucks. I will include the link in my blog post. I've got some sprinkles here from Sweet Polita. These are my favorite fancy sprinkles. I have a link for these guys as well where you can save 10%. And I've got some Wilton ones from Michael's. We have our cocoa mix. Of course, you can also make your own. I'm actually going to be adding some non-dairy creamer in here because I want people to just be able to add hot water without using extra milk or anything like that, and it'll still be very delicious and rich. Of course, you need your hot cocoa bomb molds. This was a 6-piece. I'm going to show you a picture of what it looks like right here. And I simply cut these up because it's easier for me to work with them one-on-one or one at a time instead of all 6 at once. It just gives me better control of the chocolate. Same thing here. I would say that if you had a choice to pick your colors, pick not brown, because if you're going to be doing any like actual like chocolate stuff, it blends in with the mold and it's really hard to tell if you have any gaps in your mold. I've got some marshmallows here, some cute heart strawberry ones, regular minis, and then these Lucky Charmed ones. I find that if I only have minis in my hot cocoa bombs, they melt really fast, so I wanted some bigger ones to kind of balance it out. Lastly, I've got packaging things, so I put them in standard cupcake liners. By the way, these are 2.5 inches. baked it beautifully in these guys, and these are from Target. Really, really cute. And then I also have some packaging from Target. So I believe these are going to be able to fit 4 hot cocoa bonds, and we're going to assemble them all, and we will see shortly how all this works out. Now, the type of chocolate that you use will affect how your hot cocoa bonds are going to come out. For the easiest way, a lot of people like to use candy coating, so you've got stuff like the Candy Melt, or the A-Peels from Guitar, or you've got the Merkin's Melts, or you can even use almond bark. They all work for that candy shell. It might be a little bit oilier after you put in the hot water or hot milk to dissolve, but that really hasn't bothered anyone, so we're good. You can also use regular chocolate chips, so you do have to temper that chocolate if you're going to be using it, making sure that it stays within a certain temperature so you don't burn it. And if you're going to be using one of these, our chocolate melters, I like to keep it on the low setting to make sure that it doesn't burn. It's still really easy to work with, and it'll be warm enough to ensure that we can get it all around nicely coated on the molds. A quick note about the molds. So there are various type of molds out there on the market. I will link all the various types in my blog post and talk to them and give you kind of the pros and cons. But real quick, these are the most accessible molds. Everyone's making hot chocolate bombs right now, and you can still get these on Amazon. There are these 3-piece molds where it's kind of a 1-step instead of a 2-step where you just pour, mold, and unmold. This one you have 2 steps. But those molds are always out of stock. But I will link them for you anyway, and the method is slightly different. So I will also link you to resources on how to use those molds in the blog post. Anyway, these molds come in hearts, they come in like rectangles, anything like that. As long as you can piece 2 sides, I don't know, sections, parts together, you're good to go. A lot of people like the giant ones. These are 2.5 inches. They are good for 1 serving usually. If you get the bigger ones, maybe they can be 2 servings, or you can stack a couple of them together to make various shapes. People can also decorate these however they like. There are heart shapes, there are like unicorn shapes, frog shapes if you're into Harry Potter. Anything is possible. You just have to use a little bit of your imagination. Alright, so I've had this sitting here for about 5 minutes now, and you can see that it is really melting nicely. I used a combination of semi-sweet chocolate chips and some Merkin's melting chocolate, like wafers, the round stuff, because that's what I had on hand, and I've never had a problem mixing regular chocolate and the coating chocolate, so should be okay. I'm waiting for all the bits to melt, and then I'm going to be using a spoon to transfer it into my mold. And almost, you can see it's almost fully melted. Keep it on low. Now take your mold. Here's the thing, wash this very well with hot water and then immediately dry it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with streaks and you're going to see it on the surface of your chocolate. No fun. You do want to make sure that your molds are fully dry and streak-free before using them. So you want to use something that's lint-free and does not hang on to fibers or hairs, anything like that. We offer these awesome cellulose, biodegradable, reusable, basically paper towels in our shop. Check it out, borderlandsbakery.com/shop, and they are awesome for getting your molds totally clean, streak-free, lint-free. So I like to, after I wash them with hot water, clean it with this guy to pull off any excess watermarks or anything like that, and just let it dry. You want this slightly damp, not too wet, or else you're just going to be getting your mold wet, and that defeats the purpose of that streak-free finish. So clean off your mold, let it air dry for a couple minutes. I'm going to grab one that I've already cleaned off, and let's get started with molding your shells. Alright, so we've got our mold here, and I like to start around the perimeter. So I'm going to grab some of this chocolate, and using my spoon, getting it a little bit over the edge is actually okay, because you're going to be warming the edges up to seal the sides together. And I'm simply using my spoon to get it up to the edge. And we're going to have to do 2 layers because we want that edge part to be very strong. You want to make sure you don't have any parts of the mold peeking out, and I will show you after we go around fully one time how we're going to fill up all the gaps. So keep turning, and if you have too much chocolate, we're just going to scoop it out, so no worries. And you can see how I'm purposely getting it a little bit over the edge. Now I want to kind of just tap it firmly, and let's clean this up. So these are so awesome. They just clean things up so well. And you can wash them and reuse them and throw them in your washing machine. Let's get this out of the way though. And yeah, I like to shake it and have it nicely coated. And because there's silicone, you can kind of press on the back to kind of give it a good jiggle. This also helps release any air bubbles that may have been trapped. And just swirl it around. You can kind of see some of that chocolate kind of ooze, that excess chocolate. And you can get your spoon to give you a little bit of an assist if you need to maneuver your chocolate anywhere. And just like that, everything is fully coated, looks homogeneous. We're going to set this in the fridge for a couple of minutes until it sets. If you've got a pool of chocolate on the bottom, too much of it, you can just scoop it out and put it back into your warming pot. Alright? But this first layer is critical because you're making that nice base for it. Scooping out more excess, and because of that gravity and the tapping, the extra chocolate is going to pull at the bottom, which is exactly what we want. And cleaning it up a little. Alright, put this in the fridge. Be back in a couple minutes. Alright, so this guy came out of the fridge. You can tell that by tapping on it that it's pretty solid. It's got a couple of small air bubbles, no big deal, but what we're going to do is add another layer of chocolate to the rim to kind of double it up and make that rim stronger so that it doesn't break when we adhere the 2 pieces together. Now you can't have your chocolate too hot for this part, or else it's going to melt right through the first layer, which it might do a little bit of anyway because it's warm chocolate. But basically the same thing here. You're going to use significantly less chocolate than you did the first time around, and you want to keep it as toward the rim as you possibly can. Just want to thicken that part up. Make sure your chocolate is not super hot again. Shake off the excess. Be very careful about how much chocolate you use. You're going to end up with a ton of chocolate. You can scoop some out carefully. Alright, I want to show you something. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but right there you can see the mold poking through. That means we got to add a little chocolate in there or tap it so that it covers it just like that. And I'm going to try to scoop more chocolate out because we don't need that much on the bottom portions. Be very careful because your spoon is warm, the chocolate is warm, everything is warm. Anything it touches can potentially melt. Now we're going to put this back in the fridge, sitting up just like this. Use something to prop it up if needed and wait for it to fully cool. One of the other things that I like to do for the second layer is I actually like to put them upside down so that the excess chocolate could fall and cool kind of towards the bottom, allowing for a more thick rim. So letting it cool upside down seems to help with a stronger rim. Another tip, don't worry too much about what the inside looks like because it's going to melt anyway. And yeah, if it's a little ugly, it's not going to be a big deal, right? I think this is my most hated part about these molds, and the 3-part molds are better in this area because it gives you a pretty even shell thickness, and all you gotta do is do this one time. Again, the 3-part mold and any instructional videos I will include in my blog post, which is in the description box below. I want to show you guys another way of getting that edge on, and it's using a piping bag. So you would pipe along the edge, and a little bit outside of it is okay too, but I feel like this is a little cleaner of a method if you've got piping bags, and it'll kind of reduce how much chocolate you'll end up using for that second layer. And then now you're just going to kind of get it around and down just a tad, and we're still going to do the same thing. We're going to flip it upside down, and we're going to let it cool upside down in the fridge. A side note, our bags are microwavable in short bursts on medium to medium high. Don't go all the way high. And what you want to do, especially if you're doing chocolate, is put it into a cup so that it stands up and you're not laying it on its side. That way the chocolate does not ooze out. And just 30-second bursts at a medium to help get your chocolate melted down when it's still in the piping bag. I want to show you quickly what this looks like when it's kind of air dried, a little bit streaky, versus what happens when you clean off any excess bits with our cellulose eco towels. You can really ensure that each part of your mold is clean, and now you don't have any streaks or anything like that, and no fibers. It's beautiful. I just grabbed these guys out of the fridge. They are very cool to the touch. I'm going to let them just come down to a little bit more closer to room temperature before unmolding them, and then you'll see how they look. They'll be shiny. They won't have any like weird streaks on them or anything like that. In the meantime, I'm going to go prep and put one of my pots on the stove and warm it up so that we can get ready to clean up the edges and assemble them. I've got a pan on the stove. I haven't turned it on yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on low and just let it sit there for a few minutes. All we need is just the tiniest bit of heat to melt the edges of the bomb, and then it'll be enough. So I'm going to turn it on, let it get warm for a couple minutes, and turn it back off. Alright, so these have been sitting for a couple of minutes out of the fridge, and I want to show you the easiest way I know of to unmold them using these molds. I just press down in the center, and I try to touch the chocolate as little as possible so I don't leave fingerprints or anything like that. Press down firmly, and then peel back. And that should release really nicely. You didn't have to touch chocolate at all, and you can see how easily it released. You can clean that off later. You want to wash this before you use it again, or else your chocolate may not come out as shiny because there's already oils and cocoa butter on it. So we're going to do that with the rest of them. Unmold them. Look at how pretty, you guys. And a lot of you are going to ask, so I'm using a chocolate. If you find any chocolate, throw it back in or eat it. This is a web restaurant tray. It can actually fit 12 Cocoa Bomb shells on it, and it's great for a 12-pack, so I will also leave the link in my blog post below. I'm going to finish demolding the rest of these. And if they get a little stuck, just gently nudge them and they should pop right off. Just like that. And look how pretty they are. Nice, smooth, and very shiny. We're going to move over to our stovetop to get these cleaned up and filled. Alright, so this is warm. I'm turning it off and I'm using a glove on one hand to minimize the amount of fingerprints that I'm going to get on my chocolate. I've got a cupcake liner ready here. And all I'm going to do is you have to move a little quick here. You're going to take 1/2 of your shell, gently twist it, chocolate's going to melt, and then we're going to put it right on our cupcake liner, being sure not to handle it too much or else you're going to leave prints on your shell. We're only going to do half the shells like this, and then we will put the others and fill them with our hot cocoa and marshmallows, and then we're going to do this to the other side and seal it up. So I'm going to do that for the rest of my hot cocoa bombs. I'm going to zoom out so you can see more of what's going on. So I've got some chocolate on my glove here. Just make sure you clean it off and dry off your glove so that you're not getting condensation or water on chocolate. Water and chocolate do not mix. Gentle turn until it just melts. Pick it up, put it in here. Ooh, I've got a little guy that's I don't know if you can see, but it is, oh, you can see a little gap there. That's going to be not as structurally strong, but I think with the rim that's pretty thick, it'll still be okay. So in the future, I really got to watch out for gaps like that. So we're only doing 3, right? Again, clean off your fingers if you've gotten chocolate on them, and make sure you dry your glove as well. And then here's the last one. Let's make sure. Oh God, okay. It's okay. We'll save it. We will still use this one, even though it is a little less perfect. You can use that as a top shell and drizzle over it to hide it, or we're just going to pretend that that's fine the way it is. Now we're going to fill them up. Everyone's got like a different sweetness level or creaminess level that they prefer. When I first posted these on TikTok a while back, people were like, oh my God, you're using water? And that's because I don't like putting more milk into my hot chocolate, but more so it's because I already use non-dairy creamer in my mix to eliminate having to use milk. So just using water, you're still going to get a very rich, very creamy hot chocolate. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a pack of the Swiss Miss dark chocolate cocoa mix, and I'm actually only using half because you don't really need like a lot of cocoa mix because you've got a chocolate shell as well. So half pack of that, about a teaspoon and a half of non-dairy creamer, and then as much marshmallows as you desire. And we're going to do some Lucky Charms in here. Alright, after we've filled our hot cocoa bombs, now we're ready to assemble. And we're going to basically kind of melt the edges of the other half and use that melted chocolate as glue to hold the two sides together. This part's going to take some practice, it can take some time, but just be patient with yourself